Next item on the agenda for tonight will be Presencia Del Rey Outreach Incorporated, 407 North Broad Street, application number C24-12.
You wish to swear or affirm? Are you, you wish to swear or affirm? Okay. Both of you do solemnly swear the testimony you're giving tonight will be true, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Listen, please. Connie, go ahead.
Anthony Gallardo, 320 North Avenue East, Frankfort, New Jersey.
Would you state your name? Use the microphone, pull it right out of this. Hold it next to your mouth. State your name. Spell your name and give your address.
Esteban Loza, Esteban, B as in boy.
B as in boy.
B as in boy. Yeah.
Esteban.
Esteban Loza, L-O-Z-A, A. And my address is 810 Jackson Avenue, second floor, Cleveland, New Jersey.
Please.
Good evening, Commissioners. Al Angelo on behalf of the applicant for Presencia Del Rey Outreach. I'd like to give
Now, you're good to take the look around.
I'd like to give you some background on this application. It's a rather unusual case. It doesn't come up very often. It's the first time I've had a situation like this in my years before the board. About 13 years ago, I came before the board on behalf of the church to this particular location, and the church was approved at this site. In fact, I believe Jim Guerra was also part of that, the application process. And a church took possession, and they were there for 10 years. At the end of the lease, the church moved to a different location. The premises became vacant for approximately 2 years. A retail clothing store came in for less than a year and folded. Pastor Loza has a church in Berkeley, with a large population of congregants from the Elizabeth area, and thought to lease this perfect location. It was a church. He came to Elizabeth, signed a lease with the landlord, applied for a CO, and lo and behold, because there was that period of time after there was a church that it was occupied by retail space, the zoning officer took the position that because of the intervening retail use, he would have to come before the board and have the church reapproved for that site. Essentially, before you do the same application, we were here on 13 years ago. We're now proposing any substantial changes, or no changes whatsoever to the outside of the building. We're essentially occupying the same space that was occupied during that 10-year period that it was used as a church. The church that was there at that during those 10 years was there successfully. There was a congregation there of approximately 500 congregants, and here we are before you this evening to present this application and hopefully obtain approval so we can continue the church activities at that site. With that, I'd like to call Pastor Loza as my first witness. Pastor, you are associated with the Presencia Del Rey Outreach Church, is that correct?
Yes, correct.
And where is the church presently located?
It's located in Berkeley, New Jersey.
And how long has the church been at that site?
Almost 5 years.
And how many congregants do you have in the Berkeley location?
Around 240.
And have you determined that a number of those congregants are from the Elizabeth area?
We have almost 50 from the Elizabeth area.
Now, there came a time when the church decided to extend into Elizabeth, is that correct?
That's correct.
And it's fair to say that you thought you found the perfect location at 407 North Broad Street?
Yes, sir.
And you were aware of the fact that this site had been used as a church for approximately 10 years?
Yes.
And you, in fact, entered into a lease for the site with the landlord?
Yes.
did have some affiliation with prior churches, is that correct?
That's correct.
So you were familiar with those church operations?
Yeah, the pastor was a friend of mine.
And when that church was in full operation, do you have any idea approximately how many congregants that church had?
More than 500 people around.
Now, can you tell me what your hours of operation looking at this site should approve this application?
We plan Tuesday night, 7:30 to 9, Friday, 7:30 to 9, and Sundays morning by 9 a.m.
So your primary hours would be on Sunday, correct?
Correct.
There are no Saturday activities at that location?
No.
Do you intend to have any employees on site?
Yes.
How many?
2.
And what types of activities do you envision?
We have discipleship Tuesday. Discipleship study, Bible study, celebration meetings, worship meetings, Fridays and Saturdays, and also the Sunday school. And we plan to establish a new entry to help around the community.
You also have a clothes drive, is that
Yes,
correct?
correct.
And these are activities that you conduct in Perth Amboy?
We are doing right now in Perth Amboy. We help a lot of people by the Hurricane Sandy. We help our community, Perth Amboy, and also communities around. And we did a lot of help. We tried to bring this help to Elizabeth.
Now, right now, the way the building is configured, all that you would have to do to the interior is to remove some partitions and some walls, is that correct?
That's correct.
You're not proposing any outside changes to the building?
No.
And in fact, you don't occupy the entire building. There are a number of other commercial uses within that building.
Correct.
The building occupies the entire site, correct?
Yes.
There is presently no off-street parking at that site, or has there ever been off-street parking, is that correct?
Correct.
And you feel that the surrounding neighborhood will accommodate the parishioners on Sunday?
By that hour, there's nobody on the street, so I don't think it would be a problem.
Right. Should the board approve this application, we intend to start having services there as soon as possible, is that correct?
Yes.
I have nothing further to this, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner? Vice Chairman Goff.
Mr. Chairman, so you testified that in your Perth Amboy Church, there are roughly 50 parishioners from Elizabeth? Around.
Yes.
So, should this board approve the application, actually these 50 would not have to travel to Perth Amboy, they would come to the Elizabeth location. How many more parishioners? I know it's hard to say, because you probably, I'd like to see the congregation grow. Can you give me an approximation on how many more parishioners you see coming in?
Well, they have a very successful radio program. The radio station is in Elizabeth, and we have a lot of calls, a lot of people asking me to establish another place in Elizabeth. So this is another thing why we are doing this, because many people, they don't congregate, and they ask me, Pastor, please open a place in Elizabeth too. And they call. Many people don't have transportation, but they can use the local transportation to be there, be here in Elizabeth. So I think that going to be a very good thing if you approve, because many people are going to get a place to be in church and be helped spiritually and naturally.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question. I know the answer, but for all the members of the Pastor Lozada, right? Lozada. This is the same facility where Pastor Tito de Rocco used to have his operation, right?
That's correct.
Okay. And I remember, I was a member of the board when he took possession of that facility, and he helped clean the neighborhood, I have to say, to his credit. You're going to take possession, or you're going to lease the front that is facing North Broad Street,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Actually, the site is on North Broad Street, and it's an L-shaped space, and there's also sort of an entrance on Magnolia.
Okay. Okay, I just wanted to, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner.
you have no intent or what is your proposal or your future intent for a sign of any, or is there going to be any future intent for a sign?
There is a small sign now on Magnolia Street side. I'm not sure that there's anything.
Well, Mr. Angel, that's an existing sign from the old
That's
tenant. What's your new intent, or is there any?
To put a sign,
I'm just asking, are you intending to put any kind of sign?
we move, I'm sorry, I don't know what happened is, we move with banners. I prefer to put banners. If you print it out and you put outside the wall, or that is the first thing that we have in Presencia also. It's more modern and don't request too much things to put a banner.
All right, so basically what I'm hearing is that you have no intent for a permanent sign.
If we do, we'll have to come before the board if we
Right.
can't meet the sign requirements. I think I've let Jim Clear talk more about signage.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know. I just want to know if you were going to have any intent in the future or not, because you're not showing any.
We're not showing the plans, but obviously if we can't meet sign requirements, code requirements, we have to be back there anyway. But I don't believe there's anything contemplated now within the context of this application. We just need to get the use started so we can get back into the building.
Understood. Thank you.
Commissioner. Reverend.
I'm understanding.
I'm sorry, sir.
There's a church now on Magnolia between the two city places. Is it the same property or adjacent property?
No, it's the same property, it's just that the property is a large building on that corner. There's a number of commercial uses, and the church use faces Broad Street, and then inside that building, it goes around an L shape and also comes out onto Magnolia. So essentially, this particular location of the churches has two entrances, one on Magnolia and one on North Broad Street.
So it's the same church,
It
same.
is the same, it is the church, just that it happens to have a sign right now on Magnolia, we don't have a sign necessarily on North Broad Street.
Any other questions? I do have a question. That same church that we're talking about here happens to still have the thrift store signage on the North Broad Street side, is that correct?
It's for the thrift store, yes, it does, but that's not part of this, that had always been segregated into a separate space, as
Okay.
was there's also a religious bookstore.
Got it, okay.
Which is not part of this application.
Got it, okay. That's
So
it.
that large building is broken up into separate rental units.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Not of this witness.
Mr. Garrett?
You solemnly swear in your testimony you're giving, you can the truth.
Yes, I do.
Name and address for the record, please.
James O'Gara.
James
O'Gara, 55 Jefferson Avenue. Elizabeth.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Guerrero, as well the licensed planner and architect.
Board accepts this position.
Thank you very much. Jim, you prepared the site plan connection with this application tonight?
Yes, we did.
And we heard an open statement with regard to the history of this site as well as the testimony of Dr. Pat Pelosi. Is that your understanding also what transpired on the site?
That's correct. Approximately 13 years ago, we took this same building through this board for use variance for approval of the church. Then the church stayed there, it stayed for about 10 years, then it left, the building was vacant, and then the retail tenant actually came to us. This So we designed and opened up a business there, which lasted less than a year. So currently, so this application is really to use that church space, that formerly used church space as a church again. And basically on our cover page G000, the upper left corner, the zoning information, essentially all variances or existing conditions. We're not proposing any physical changes to the outside of the building. It's a very minor work might be on the inside, which we would go through the construction department for. One Mr. Esther to sign, I think we should, that there should be signed on the Northwood Street side, but we would comply with all the sign requirements in terms of height and percentage of coverage, etc.
And that requires a permit, right?
Yeah, when we go through the construction, if the application is approved, we would then apply the sign at the same time.
Now, can we just go through, I know the variances are all existing conditions, so we just.
Sure. Okay, well, on the, again, the upper left corner is a use variance because the Elizabeth ordinance include which churches, the Elizabeth ordinance does not present church use in any area of the city without coming to this board. The next, the lot depth is prevailing 214 feet. This lot exists as 110 feet deep, so that's a variance, existing condition. Lot width is 101 feet. Actually, that's not a variance, sorry. The front yard, the front yard setback, this building is built up to the front property line, so zero setback. That's an existing condition. The yards, right and left yards, prevailing left yard is 0.36 feet. The right yard is 3.5 feet. These are both zero because again, the existing building is built right to the property lines. And the last variance at the bottom of that column has to do with parking. The building, based on its maximum capacity that we could put in there, would require 109 spaces, but the building occupies the entire site, so there's really no ability to have on-site parking at this property.
And you heard testimony that the last church use had a congregation of at least 500 members.
Yes,
Right?
correct.
And this does have capacity for 485.
Yes.
And are you aware of any problems with regard to the former usage of the site as a church in relation to the parking requirements?
Well, we worked there for 10 years, and the church hours are very different than the commercial hours in the neighborhood, so I don't see any conflict with the church. We propose or take parking from any of the commercial stores, because they're basically open in evenings and on Sunday. I don't see any parking problems with it.
So that use is a good fit for that neighborhood?
I believe it is.
You reviewed the report from our consultants.
Yes.
Submitted, and there are any provisions in there that the applicant did not comply with?
No, I don't know, so I would comply with all of
And should the board approve this application and the variance is requested, do you believe there's any negative impact on surrounding uses in the neighborhood?
No, I don't. I think it's while it's a, use variance, I think it's consistent, had been there for a decade, and I think it would be a good use for the neighborhood.
Does it in any way appear the spirit or intent of the master plan or something?
I don't believe it does.
Nothing further, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Andrell, just going back to the signage, the pastor indicated he prefers to use banners.
I don't think he can put banners up without getting.
Now, that was my point. I mean, you can skirt the sign barriers by putting up a huge banner, and you're going to say, well, you don't have to put a sign barrier yourself.
Something temporary, perhaps, but not.
And conforming to the,
Exactly.
as long as it's on record that we all understand that part of it.
We'll comply with the zoning, with the sign requirements.
All right.
Yeah, I just had that problem with the car wash up on North Broad Street. They had these temporary signs, which the city didn't want.
Right.
any other questions? Seeing none? That's all you have? Is there any members of the audience who wish to testify for or against this application? Please step forward and state your name. Seeing none? Commissioners, any comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner?
I remember a few years back when Pastor Tito de Rocco rented this store or this vacant warehouse and turned that into a church, a very successful church that outgrew the space. The neighborhood around the Magnolia Avenue and Broad Street was a very dangerous corner, which, as I indicated before, to the credit of Pastor De Rocco, the church and the members of the church helped clean up. I don't see any problem with Pastor Rosa opening this church at this facility. I'm in favor of this application. The hours of operation will not affect any parking situation or any businesses that are in the vicinity. So I will vote in favor of allowing this applicant to open a church in this facility.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Vice Chairman Cook.
Yeah, given that the church was there at one time, it could accommodate that number of people to congregate. Parking is always an issue. But again, it's a Sunday. Plus, given the fact that Mr. Andrell, Mr. Guerra, Commissioner Castro, and our Secretary, Marta Rivera, were all here 14 years ago to listen, and they didn't have a problem with it then. It would behoove me not to like this application. So for the deja vu in the room tonight, I also am in favor of this application.
Thank you. Any other comments, Commissioner?
I was here too, so
My apologies, Commissioner. My apologies, Commissioner.
I'll go for it too.
We left you out there, sorry.
Yeah, 14 years ago I was here also, and I'll go for it also.
That's right.
We'll just go back to the record. Any other comments?
Same at Charlie singing, song and dance.
May I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve this application.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Castro. Second by Vice Chairman Cohen. Madam Secretary?
Commissioner Hernandez.
Fernando.
Yes.
Commissioner Castro. Commissioner
Aye.